Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. So I had to redo this video. I put it out earlier today, but apparently without me knowing what I was using to record my screen, it didn't switch between windows. So I'm gonna have to do this as two or maybe three videos to show everything that I was trying to show in that first video. But we're talking about the BYU Jerusalem Center and how, I don't know, maybe sometime in the future it could become a temple. And I'm going to show you some more reasons why. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you end up liking it, hit the notification bell, and make sure to leave your comments. And make sure to share this video too, because this is really cool. Okay, so if some people already saw the first video that I put out, and I have some additional things that I put here, so if you already saw it, make sure to watch this, because there's one or two new things that I noticed as I was doing this over again. Okay, so here we have a satellite view of the BYU Jerusalem Center, okay? So we know that it's an 8-story building on the hillside right here. This is all part of the building. These are all dorms and apartments or whatever uh, with their balconies. But I'm looking at this portion right here, this rectangle, okay? Because this seems to be basically the top level. I know that there's levels 7 and 8, and I think that they comprise this, or maybe this right here is the 7th level, and then this one is the 8th. I'm not sure. But what I'm looking at is this gray rectangle right here. This is definitely the top floor, okay? And then if you'll remember, on top, like if you're looking at it from this way, from the west, on top of the building and then to the left, on the north side, you have like these blocks right here. Like, so first you have like one layer of blocks where it kind of makes like a cross. So what I did is I made just kind of like a little guide right here. So you see this right here, this red cross, that's kind of like the pattern that they're laid out on. So you have like this first level of blocks that make this kind of cross pattern. And then in the middle, there's a singular block or a cube that's on top. Okay, and that's going to be important as I show you what we're about to look at here. Okay, so BYU Jerusalem Center, this way is south, this way is north. Okay, now I was wondering, okay, because I had read somewhere in that last video, that I believe anyway, that, well, and I think I've heard it a couple times, that the BYU Jerusalem Center is kind of like laid out like a temple. And so that got me to thinking, and this is this is what I found. Okay, so first of all, let's take a look at Herod's temple, which was the second temple. Okay, now they're all going to be everything that you find online. It's all going to be exact because the exact measurements were given out. Well, they were at least for the Tabernacle, and I think for Solomon's temple, but there's not really any variance. Like the measurements are known. Okay, so any given plan, as long as they followed it correctly, they're all going to match up exactly. So here's one example of the second temple. Um, Here's another example of it. Here's another example of it, and they're all exactly the same. Okay, so I checked that out. So this right here is the second temple. Now here is Solomon's temple, which you can see it's a bit different, right? Let's go back to Herod's temple. Herod's temple, you have like this kind of like court right here. You have the laver right here. You have the altar over here in this like inner large court. Whereas with Solomon's temple, I mean, I guess the laver is kind of in the same place, and here's the altar. So it's laid out a little bit differently. Okay, just take a look one more time. I'm going to put up Herod's temple, Solomon's temple, Herod's temple, Solomon's temple. Okay, so there's a difference, but the thing that does seem to stay the same is the rectangle right here. It's the same proportions and probably the exact same measurements for both temples. Now I'm going to pull up the Tabernacle, the portable temple that was used by Moses and the Israelites as they were wandering in the wilderness before they came to the Promised Land. So here's the Tabernacle, and this specific graphic I got from the church website. So this was produced by the church, okay? And you can see the similarity. The tabernacle was just a portable temple, and then once they built Solomon's temple, it was patterned after the tabernacle. And it has like the same dimensions and everything like that. Okay, so as you can already see, there's definitely uh, just by kind of roughly looking at it, you can tell that the BYU Jerusalem Center, the rectangle looks pretty similar to these over here, doesn't it? Well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to do an overlay. Okay, um, I'm going to highlight this like middle section right here because um, okay, so I just put like a red rectangle right here just so you can see it a little bit better. So first, let's do an overlay of Herod's temple, so the second temple. All right. So you can see it's a match as far as like the rectangle goes. You can't count this part right here because this is kind of like the side view because like the satellite took it at a little bit of an angle. So I did it the best that I could to match this up with like the roof itself. So, and of course it's not going to be like exact, but it's close enough. So you can see that within this rectangle, the BYU Jerusalem Center fits within that pretty comfortably and pretty exactly, I would say. Okay, so that's Herod's temple. Now, let's look at Solomon's temple, or the first temple. Well, same thing, just as you would expect. The rectangle fits exactly within this rectangle. But more interestingly, this part right here, where the blocks are, they line up and they match with the Holy of Holies and the holy place, right? Because like this, okay, so this portion right here, this is like the inside of the building. Everything out here is outside. It's within courts, but there's no roof overhead. But once you enter this building, this is where you get into the holy place, where you would have had like the menorah, the incense, the shewbread table, and so forth. And then, of course, we all know the Holy of Holies. That's where the Ark of the Covenant was and could only be entered by the high priest on the Day of Atonement. So once a year on Yom Kippur. Okay, so this matches up really nicely. What are the chances, do you think, that this feature right here, I mean, because like, look at this. Look at the width of these blocks, okay? So you have like 1 block, 2 blocks, 3 blocks, and then you have this one that's like on top um, to give it kind of like a steeple looking um, appearance when you're looking at it from the side. But when you look at the width of these blocks, again, let me put this back on here, and then let's look at Solomon's Temple. It fits really, really nicely. But that's not all. Now, let's take a look at the tabernacle. How does the tabernacle match up with this? Well, pretty much exactly. Pretty much exactly. I would say, I would be willing to bet that it's exact. Okay, just doing this simple overlay right here, um, that's too much of a coincidence for the BYU Jerusalem Center to not be patterned after the tabernacle and the temples. What do you think? Do you think that they were just like, oh, okay, let's do the BYU Jerusalem Center architect, just kind of make it look like traditional Middle Eastern architecture, so yeah, arches all over the place, and just make it look nice, and then like what did the architect just decide, hey, you know what? Let's do these like blocks right here, and let's do them right where they would be. Let's do the this exact proportions right here, and it was all just like coincidence. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't have the story of how the architecture was planned out, right? But there's something funny going on, don't you think? Don't you think? Seriously, look at this. How does this pretty much exactly, like this part right here with the holy place and the Holy of Holies, how does this almost exactly, and probably exactly, if we had like a better satellite image, match this right here. And not only that, but this outer rectangle as well, you guys. And then at the bottom here on the south side of the BYU Jerusalem Center, when you look at pictures, there's kind of like an arch right here. And again, I don't know if there's any sort of entryway right here. All I can see from the photos is that there's like windows, but there's like an arch, as though if you remodeled it, that archway could be made into a doorway. So it's interesting because this is how you enter the temple. You come in from this side. Now these temples, they would be facing east, right? Or at least Solomon's temple and Herod's temple, they'd be facing east, and you would enter in at this eastern gate. Now I have it oriented like this because the BYU Jerusalem Center faces south, but these would be facing this way toward the east. And then you would go in here where the BYU Jerusalem Center has this kind of like archway that I think could easily be renovated and turned into kind of like a doorway into the future temple, if that's somehow what ends up happening. Now, some of you pointed out that no, this will never happen because the church promised that there wouldn't be any proselyting and stuff like that. And I didn't read anything in what I found that this couldn't be changed in the future. From what I read, it seems like the main concern from the Orthodox Jews and the Israeli government was that this would be used as a center for proselyting, and the church promised not to proselyte. I didn't find anything saying that they wouldn't turn this into something else in the future. Um, things could change. Governments change, times change. So we have no idea what may happen in the future. But just like Jeffrey R. Holland pointed out, God can do his own work, can't he? So even though right now the understanding is that this will never be a place of proselyting, I wouldn't put a restriction on the Lord that he couldn't change conditions such that later the Israeli government would be okay with us turning this into a temple. And it's not too hard to imagine either, because think about all these different, not cathedrals, but like basically like these different churches within Jerusalem. There's like the Church of the Nativity. There's the church that's I don't know what it is, but it's basically on, or it's at the base of the Mount of Olives, and it's like really prominent. I think it's a Greek Orthodox church, but like you have all these different Christian churches that are large. They're as large as temples basically. So with Israel becoming more tolerant over time of religion, and now that we've been here for so long, maybe they realize that we really are true to our word. And so later on, once it's proposed, maybe they wouldn't have a big problem with us changing the purpose of the center as long as we stick to no proselyting, and then later on turn it into a temple. So, anything could happen, okay? But the fact of the matter is that when this was constructed, it was constructed in this way, in this rectangular shape, at least the top floor. And that top floor and the satellite view matches the tabernacle and these other two temples. I don't think that that's coincidence, and I think that gives us some insight as to maybe what the church hoped would happen in the future, or knew, because maybe the Lord told, like maybe they knew that someday this would become a temple. I wouldn't be surprised. Um, Jeffrey R. Holland, he said that there were 33 miracles that came about in order to build this BYU Jerusalem Center. Missionaries died so that this could happen. So I think it's a very, very good possibility that this could become a temple in the future, even though right now the current agreement is that this is all that we're doing and that there will be no proselyting. Now, just as a side note, I decided to look at the Salt Lake Temple, okay? And here's kind of like a plan, a layout. And you'll notice that there's this rectangle right here. Okay, so I'm not counting like these towers and the buttresses and all that stuff. I'm just looking at this inside rectangle. Okay, so I made this red rectangle just so that we could see it easier. And if we put Herod's temple on top of this, it's a match. You'll see, and let me take the Salt Lake Temple out. Let me take out the red um, rectangle. So you'll see that like there's like this like big outer wall right here, and then there seems to be kind of like an inner wall right here. So if you go along the inside, or if you go along this inner wall and you take it all the way down here past like these are, I think these are like steps right here, this big black portion, like there's the first set of steps and then there's like another set of steps. So if you go from this corner and then follow this line all the way to this wall right here that divides this portion of the temple from this portion of the temple. Okay, so let's put the red or the red rectangle back. Okay, you can see this. So look, this rectangle. So it's not the whole temple, but it's the part where you have the altar, you have the brazen sea, you have the holy place, and then you have the holy of holies. Okay, so with Herod's temple, this is where like everything's going on pretty much, like all the important temple services and rites are happening in this rectangle. And then let me bring back the Salt Lake Temple. Here it is. It's like it's a perfect match. It's another perfect match. Um, so yeah, I don't. I think that all this is intentional. I think it kind of speaks to the holiness of our modern day temples. Now, not all temples are going to have this like rectangle inside, I don't think anyway, because we have temples now that are all shapes and sizes. Some that are even like skyscraper temples, basically, like in Manhattan in Hong Kong. Although I don't know their architecture, but all I can say for sure is what I'm showing you here, that the Salt Lake Temple, which is the flagship temple of the church, this is essentially the headquarters temple. Yeah, this matches up with Herod's temple. And then again, the BYU Jerusalem Center. I think there's enough reason to believe that things could change in the future, um, and this will become the Temple of Jerusalem. Now, will the Jews build their own temple? Yeah, it could be. People have brought up how the sons of Levi need to offer again an offering in righteousness. I'm gonna have to study that more. I think I read it the same way that you do, that they're literally gonna do animal sacrifice again. But I want to study that out more. And we have no idea what this is, what's ultimately going to happen here. Maybe this could be converted into a temple where that could happen. I know that sounds kind of strange, but um, you could like tear this whole thing down and then rebuild it. Maybe this is just kind of like a placeholder. Or maybe we'll have this temple, and then we'll also have the third temple that the Jews are trying to build, and that'll be used for those kind of rituals and sacrifices. I don't know. All I can say is that this is probably, I think this is beyond coincidental. Like seriously, just look at that. Look at it. All right. I hope everyone's having a happy new year. I'm probably going to do another video or two. I don't know if I'm going to get those out today or tomorrow or the next day. But I think there's more to dig into. And there is at least a little bit more that I want to share. I want to show you some stuff on um, Google Earth and some things that I saw. So I'll save that for later in another video. All right, so if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video. If you liked it, hit the notification bell. Make sure to share this because I feel like this is pretty eye-opening. If it was eye-opening to you, it's probably going to be eye-opening to a lot of other people. So make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.